Hello and welcome to the Kyle Lowry edition of the Wrap Up Live. This is your Raptors Republic live post-game show. I'm here with Kyle Brickman, obviously myself, Sahal, Abdi, and we got Chris Howson-Jan in the background, our producer. Wow. This is difficult, Kyle, because obviously, the Raptors lose by 5, 114 to 109 to the Miami Heat. But I think it hurts a little more when it's Kyle Lowry looking like the best player on the floor in the second half. I told you right before we went live that I had like flashbacks to Lowry doing this for Toronto on the other side. And Miami Heat hit 50 wins. They're at 50 wins, 28 losses. They're sitting first in the Eastern Conference. A lot of that obviously has to do with the serial winner, Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry has a statue, which is nice. I guess we'll start from the beginning, pre-game, because that's obviously what most people were tuned into, and then we'll get into what happened late in the game. But early on, Kyle, I might have to just call you Mr. Brickman, because I don't know if people are going to know if I'm referring to Kyle Lowry or you. So, yeah. So, Kyle, one thing that I felt was a little odd, and I know people are going to be like, whoa, how could you say that? A little early, I think, for a Kyle Lowry statue. Do you not think that maybe like we should have waited until maybe his career was over and then built it? Or I don't know if I'm not sure. I just feel like a statue for an active player is a little bit weird, but I'm not mad at it. I'm not angry with it. It's Kyle Lowry. He's the best Raptor of all time, so I'm not angry. But Kyle, what do you think of the whole pregame ceremony, everything that had to do with the pregame?
Yeah, it was pretty heartwarming, honestly. Like he is the guy for a lot of like a whole generation of Raptors fans, and I thought it was nice. And it was nice that his kids were there, and they really took a moment. But what I almost liked more is what, I don't know if you were watching, like what Fred said like in the huddle right before the game. Just I don't think I should repeat it, but like I liked that, and I think that was really the theme of the early part of the game is like Fred was kind of the man tonight, at least in the first half. He had like 17 first quarter points or something, like just sort of took over the first part of the game in response to the Lowry ceremony, which was super admirable and really would have been the story of this game had they not collapsed late. This statue, I think this is just like a fan thing. I don't know if
I'm starting to think that too, because I see the backgrounds and it's just
well, first of all, they're moving it around everywhere.
Okay,
so it can't be the real statue.
It's a little
it's probably made of like foam or something.
I think it's because I saw one picture, the first picture of the statue in front of the CN with the CN Tower as the background. So I was like, oh, okay. I mean, nice. Kyle's definitely going to get one. He deserves one. 7 is definitely a number that's going to be retired. When Kyle's career is over, I presume. But yeah, pregame was nice. His wife was there. You said his kids were there. It was really cool. His kids probably had no clue what was going on, but I'm sure at this point they understand to an extent how much Kyle Lowry is loved in this city. Yeah, Kyle is, speaking for me personally, he is one of, if not my favorite player in basketball history. There's a couple of guys up there for me. But Kyle, for me, like I watched him throughout his career. So much fun to watch. Fiery guy. I love fiery players. I'm going to say something very controversial. I've said it before, but I'm a fan of Patrick Beverley. A lot of people do not like Patrick Beverley. They're not fans of him. I love fiery players that get underneath people's skin. Obviously, Kyle, much more talented player than Patrick Beverley. But yeah, this was the night that everyone was waiting for, Sunday night. I'm sure so many people were watching the pregame. The tickets were insane. The prices were insane. This was one of the biggest nights of the season for the Raptors. It was very cool to watch the players embrace Kyle, Pascal before the game, kind of sneak up on him and hug him in the back. And then Fred like laughing mid-game with Kyle. I love it. I personally love it. I love the relationships that we get to watch become so foundational in Kyle Lowry's life. But yeah, let's get to the game really quick because I feel like people have heard enough about the pregame so far. The way the game ended there, Kyle, because let's be honest, the Raptors controlled the game in the first half. It looked good. I mean, Fred was going absolutely insane. I tweeted that he looked like he was taking things personal. Look at this picture. Oh my goodness. See, I can't get it. Like, and now we got Masai Ujiri. It's amazing. I love it. I love it. I'm sure everyone loves that as well. But yeah, the way the game ended there, Kyle, it just seemed like in the second half, Miami was not missing shots. We mentioned Max Strus just before we went live. Again, he was incredible tonight. He just wasn't missing shots. A lot of it had to do with Kyle Lowry's playmaking. Kyle Lowry controlled the pace of the game. So it was almost a flip. The Raptors controlled the first half. The Miami Heat controlled the second half. Were you shocked with how the game ended there with Miami just taking complete momentum?
See, I think my biggest takeaway from this game, it would be that if you're choosing to play a defensive system that like allows a lot of corner threes because you're super aggressive protecting the rim, you're super aggressive on the perimeter, then you gotta just kind of live with nights like this where other teams going to shoot almost 50% from three and like, you know, whatever it is, 80% from three in the fourth quarter. I mean, they're super aggressive, and when it works, it looks awesome. This little stretch the Raptors have been on, the defense has been working. They haven't really been made to pay for this aggression, and tonight they were. I mean, that's just that. I mean, you're going to play this type of defense. This is going to happen. They can't overcome anything like this. So, you know.
Yeah, a lot of times it seemed like the Raptors were kind of out of position. And Chris Boucher and Pascal both got caught on pump fakes, one by Kyle Lowry, a couple by Tyler Hero. Yeah, I mean, it felt like I was watching two totally different games. The first game, or the first half, I should say, the Miami Heat could not make a three-point shot, and neither could the Raptors, to be fair. It seemed like it was only Fred who could score from beyond the arc. And, you know, first half, I was thinking to myself, you know what? I genuinely do not think there's a way where Kyle allows the Heat to play like this in the second half. There's just no way. Like, we've seen Kyle do this so many times. Where he comes out in the third quarter and he just goes crazy. And yeah, that's what the Miami Heat did. You saw the stat earlier on that Chris, our producer, posted between Max Strus and Oladipo, 72% from three, 72%, 13 for 18 is crazy. Like that is insane. So difficult. Oladipo was another guy that had a little bit of an impact on this game as well. I didn't know he could shoot like that, but I mean, sure.
I don't think he can. I think he just could tonight.
Exactly. He had 21 points, 7 for 11 shooting. He was 6 for 9 from three. Strus was 7 for 9 from three. He was actually the Heat's highest scorer in this game. Overall, looking at this game from a macro perspective, what did you think about Kyle Lowry and his impact that he had on this game?
Yeah, it seems like he's really transitioned into a playmaker role. I mean, you could see it towards the end of last year, but it wasn't really prevalent because the games didn't matter at all. It didn't really seem to impact anything. But I think that he's willingly taken the back seat. To me, this is Bam Adebayo's team. I think he's easily the best player in the team. And I think Kyle's he's always been really gracious to make way. Like he made way for DeMar for a long time when frankly, like, I actually think Kyle was a better player for a lot of that stretch, and that might be a controversial statement. But he gave he gave a lot of room to DeMar to cook when maybe he shouldn't have, and he's doing it now. I mean, that's just the type of person he is, a very gregarious person, and yeah, he was a playmaker tonight and has been all season, and I kind of like it. This is a good way to transition later in a career. Is like, don't take on as big of a scoring role burden, but just be a playmaker, and that's what he is.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, Kyle Lowry's career stats. I mean, we're all fans of Kyle. Miami has warmed up to Kyle since obviously he was traded for. Miami fans love him as well. And you just look at his career stats, and you could see like the regression's kind of beginning with Kyle. He's still a very, very impactful player. It's obviously not as consistent this season, which is pretty normal. I mean, I believe Kyle Lowry's 36 years old. He's an older guy. Like there's no way a starting point guard should have an impact like even Kyle Lowry does this season. Like there's no way it should be this high at this age. Even though he's kind of regressing and we're watching him and the percentages aren't where they used to be. 13.3 points per game. Last season with the Raptors was 17.2. The year before that, 19.4. He's always hovered around being a 40% 3-point shooter. This year in Miami, he's at 37%. So he's just right around his career average, which is also 37% coincidentally. But yeah, 7.6 assists per game. He's still that playmaker that we know he is. By the eye test, by the metrics, he makes his team better. And I think you're right. I think a lot of people don't take kindly to hearing that Bam and Jimmy on a lot of nights are the best players on Miami, but that's not a slight at Kyle at all. I think it just speaks to a 50-win team in the NBA. I mean, the Miami Heat are arguably the best team in the Eastern Conference. They're playing like it. So, and they beat a very good Raptors team, a team that we've said ad nauseum, no playoff Eastern Conference contender wants to run into. So, and the Raptors fought them hard, and Miami still came out. So, this is a team with a ton of pedigree. This is a team, Kyle, that I do not want to run into. I'm going to be totally honest, because we haven't even mentioned that Jimmy Butler was not even there. So, sorry, they are at 51 wins.
We do have to say, like, I was thinking about it. We do have to say Jimmy isn't a 3-point shooter this year. In fact, he's almost given up on making threes. So, like, you could say, oh, you know, like they missed Jimmy tonight, but Max Strus had 23 points and he hit 7 threes. So, I mean, like a lot of that 29 Strus minutes are going to Jimmy. So it's not like you just insert Jimmy's 20 points and great defense and the Raptors lose by like 30 or something. It's not that simple. I mean, the guys they play over Jimmy, like maybe I'm really low on Jimmy Butler, but I think that if Max Strus is shooting like this, if you could guarantee Max to be shooting like this every single night, he'd be getting more minutes than Jimmy. So
yeah, no, 100%.
That's not a controversial statement. He shot 70% from 3 or whatever. Anyone's getting minutes over Jimmy if they're shooting 70% from 3.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why I'm so concerned with a potential Miami Heat matchup, or just Miami in general. This is a team that, again, missing Jimmy Butler, one of the best players, I think, on his best night in the Eastern Conference. Jimmy's a guy who's going to give you problems. He adds one more elite defender. And yes, people are going to go, you know what? The Raptors were missing OG Anunoby, who is, very important to what the Raptors do. I believe he was out with a left quad strain, so he was a DNP. Weird. Utah had a left quad strain as well. So I don't know what's going on with the left quads with the Toronto Raptors. It's a little weird, but we have a good medical team, so I'm not too worried. Louis Zatzman, the managing editor of the great Raptors Republic, he tweeted Nick Nurse's quote. Nick Nurse said, "I don't have an update on how long it's going to be, but if it's just a contusion, but it is just a contusion and nothing more." And that was Nick Nurse on OG Anunoby's injury. So not fun. I personally have had a quad injury. It's not fun, outdoor football on a pretty crappy field. Strained it, not fun at all. I always thought that, how do you really strain your quad? But it just happens. And when you reach a certain age, when we're all, Kyle, in between that like 16 to 20 range, and you just think you're invincible, you're never really injured. And then you get to your mid 20s, and then you get to your late 20s, and you're like, okay, now the injuries are starting to settle in. Yeah, that's I guess where OG is right now. It's tough. He just got back. He was playing well. He was gathering momentum. And now, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, he has 31 missed games this season, which is the most in his career. I'm not ready to call OG. I've seen it. I've seen people tweet it. I've seen people mention it. I'm not ready to say he's injury prone or anything like that. But there we go. See, right on time, Liam.
Liam's ready.
Right on time, Liam. But I do think he is crucial to what the Raptors do. And if you're walking into the playoffs with no OG, or even with OG and he's not warm, Kyle, we have a problem. Do you agree?
Yeah. I got to say, like, he was coming back from a big injury and Nick Nurse played him 30 plus minutes a game. Like this type of stuff is like, I know I'm always talking about the minutes, but I stand by it. Like, you can't play these guys this many minutes. They're going to get hurt. He just came back from a serious injury and he's right back in the lineup playing like in the 30s. What happened? This is the team that invented load management. We were like doing anything for Kawhi. Kawhi could have told us he had like a he cut his nails too short, and we would have given him like 10 games off. If an OG can't get any like minutes restrictions after a terrible injury, I don't know. I love Nick Nurse, but his minutes are a problem. These guys are getting hurt a lot more than they ever have in their careers.
Yeah, it's difficult, and this is a thing we talk about all season long. It's the how do you manage the fatigue of these guys, and I don't think it's a coincidence. You're right. I don't think it's a coincidence that Fred has gone down with an injury. OG Gary's been out. All the starters have suffered injuries. Knock on wood. Obviously, Pascal isn't there yet, and he's, by the way, he's been playing like that All NBA guy that we keep saying. So going into a player by player thing, who in this game, Kyle, are you probably most proud of? Who do you want to single out first for the Raptors? Because there's a couple guys. Fred went to the line 11 times. Pascal had a good game. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll give it to Pascal. I really think that he's been taking over at a level that is kind of unprecedented for him. And there was a little stretch in the beginning of the fourth quarter where he just took over. It was just his team. The floor was spaced well, and he was just hitting everything. I kind of wish they went to him more, but I guess he was getting trapped really late. But Pascal, I'm just looking at the box score now. Like, 3 guys in the 40 minutes. You would have thought this is an overtime game. 3 players, the Raptors playing over 40 minutes. I mean, man, what is going on?
Yeah, and you know what's funny, Kyle? Our boy Armani Brooks played and then got shipped right out 4 minutes in or 5 minutes in. So not great. I mean, Armani came in, and if you guys remember, my memory's shot, and a lot of people know that by now watching this show. But I do remember as soon as Armani got in the game, he shot a 3-point attempt immediately. And I was thinking to myself, this is great. Like, we need Armani to just come in and not be afraid to shoot. That's supposed to be his best quality. So he came in, he shot, he missed, was on the floor for a little bit, got pulled, and that's it. Didn't see him again. I was a little shocked. Maybe we didn't see Justin Champagnie today because he's been playing fantastic for the Raptors 905. Like, he's been playing out of his mind. It's been crazy to watch. And one thing with the Raptors 905, quickly, Kyle, by the way, is I've noticed that, the Raptors look at what they need from certain players. They send them down to the 905 and they say, work on that. If you have to shoot 23s, shoot 23s. And that's almost exactly what Justin Champagnie did. He went to the 905. He went 9 for 19 from 3. He shot 19 3-point attempts. When is Champagnie even shooting 5 3-point attempts for the Raptors? This is what the 905 is for. I'm so glad that, it's been a constant, development churning institution there. It's incredible. I love it. I love what they're doing for Justin. I love what they're doing for guys like Isaac Bonga, David Johnson, who we haven't seen this season yet. Even Delano Banton. None of those guys played, unfortunately. Malachi is still, I believe, out with an injury. So it's tough. Justin Champagnie, I wanted him to play. But as you can probably tell, we don't get what we want a lot of times with Nick Nurse in the rotation. So this was still a winnable game, though, Kyle. That's what probably hurts me the most. At the end there, it just felt like Miami. It just felt like pedigree. Like, Miami's been there, done that. They knew how to close out the game, and the Raptors just faltered. And probably what hurt me the most. And Chris, I don't know, our producer, I don't know if you're watching. You watched that last clip of that Fred VanVleet miss. And I don't know if we have it, but if you possibly have it, it would be nice to bring up. That final play, this hurt a lot. Tyler Herro throws it to Kyle, goes off the rim,
been a crazy
wide
moment.
open. Yeah, wide open Fred, and he missed it. And you can just see the pain in Fred's eyes as he walked away. And that's such a clean shot. Alvin Williams, I tweeted that he said it best. This is a great shot for your best 3-point shooter on the team. And I know a lot of people who are watching this live show right now are holding their breath when Fred shot that. But I mean, it is what it is. It just is what it is. It's one of those plays where you just gotta, swallow it and move on. I mean, it just is what it is. Kyle, on that play specifically, what was going through your mind? Because I personally was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, I was like kind of standing up, getting ready to like grab some water and do a show type thing, thinking it was over. Like, I was like kind of getting ready to podcast, but unbelievable. At first, I thought the ball was about to bounce in off the hoop. That would have been a really crazy finish. But yeah, in general, it's just a really rough. I mean, a really rough collapse, if we're being completely honest. And I think you mentioned the pedigree thing, and I'm not like, I don't mean to get on you in particular. And everyone says a pedigree thing when it comes to the Raptors, and I get the Raptors have a lot of young pieces, but Siakam and VanVleet have rings. I mean, Thad Young is a vet. Boucher has a ring. I mean, it's really just Scotty and Gary Trent Jr. And it's not like those guys are good, but I get they're young, but they're still good players. It's Lowry's old, but it's Bam who doesn't have a ring. It's like, I got to look up his name on ESPN.
He does have quite a bit of playoff experience. He does have quite a bit of playoff experience, though,
and Olympic experience. But
yeah, exactly.
Max Strus, like Tyler Hero. Those are the guys. I get that they've been in the finals and they have playoff experience, but like it's not like there's a noticeable difference in experience. I mean, the Raptors have had deep playoff runs with this group, so I think we got to stop letting them off the hook. I mean, they were just outplayed. They were less focused, and I don't think it's a product of their youth. I think it's a product of their ability. I think the Heat were just more locked in. They were a better team tonight, not even experience based, just like they were just. I hate saying the words Heat culture, but like maybe that's it. Maybe I don't know what it was.
Yeah, it also didn't help that the Raptors shot 4 for 17 from the bench. That didn't help. I mean, they got absolutely nothing from the bench.
From 3 to like 12 for 40 or some 12 for 39 from 3, like just missing like shot after shot after shot, including that last one by Fred. I mean, sometimes basketball is pretty simple. It's like one team shot 50% from 3 and one team shot 30% from 3. Like, it's not a big surprise who won.
Yeah. Were you a little bit shocked at because I did mention the bench, were you shocked at the lack of output there, or was it just like it is what it is, and this is probably why Nick Nurse is playing his starter so much?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but Precious got 20 minutes and did almost nothing. Boucher got 22 minutes. He had an all right game, but like still kind of meaningless. Thad Young, like those 2 free throws he missed when they were down 5 with like 3 minutes left. That was rough. That was really like a heartbreaking moment. And I don't really think. I mean, he had a couple nice assists. He was getting his hands in the passing lanes, but not a terrific Thad Young game. And Armani Brooks, you could barely say. So, like, I actually don't know what more you can ask of some of these guys. Like, I don't think that you can ask more of Thad Young. It's not like you want to take on a big scoring burden, but it's just tough when they don't have consistent minutes and there's only really 3 bench players to work in. Like,
choose from, yeah.
Yeah, I almost like I want to see like let's get Armani Brooks like 15 minutes. Let him get a feel for the game. Let him get confident enough to like actually put some shots up. He's a shooter. That kind of thing. So I think a part of it is that these guys there hasn't from day one been any consistency with the bench minutes. Guys don't know when they're coming on. They don't know who they're coming on with. They don't know what their role is when they come on, whether it's like they have the green light to shoot, whether they're just a playmaker, etc. So it's just kind of rough. Part of the reason is, they don't have the talent and the starters have to play a lot. But the other part of the reason is like this bench unit hasn't had a chance to gel together. Hasn't really had a chance to play together in games. So who knows how good they are really.
Yeah, it could be a recipe for disaster later on in the season into the playoffs. Chris highlighted some really, really good comments from everyone. Everyone seems really engaged in what happened tonight. One I want to re-highlight is Brian's comment, and that was, why were we running the offense through Thad with 4 minutes left? It's a good question, and I know it's a great question. It's a great question, but I think for Miami Heat's perspective, it was almost by design. Like if you watched how Miami was defending the Raptors, they wanted the ball to end up in Thad's hands. The longer it was in Thad Young's hands, the better. I don't think it was a thing where Nick Nurse was designing the offense and going, you know what, we're going to run this through Thad. I think it was almost like the Raptors had no choice but to hit Thad. And if you guys remember, that play was very weird because Gary got fouled there. But if you guys remember the Thad Young possession where the ball got swung to him, he was on the elbow. It was the only 3 he attempted all game and he missed it. That's what Miami wanted. They wanted guys like Chris Boucher, guys like Precious, guys like Thad Young for the ball to end up in their hands. And they were really keying in on guys like Fred, Gary Trent Jr., Scotty. Scotty's, by the way, I thought he played pretty well. I mean, 19 points and no turnovers. 7 rebounds, only a couple assists, but no turnovers is probably the biggest thing for Scotty. He was really, really on. But it's a great question from Brian. I think genuinely that it was by design for Miami to kind of keep the ball in Thad Young's hands and Precious and some of the other peripheral players for the Raptors.
Yeah, they were trapping Pascal really super hard, and so he didn't really have the opportunity. He was just getting it to, and Thad's one of the guys who's smart enough to like come to the ball, grab the ball, and he's probably instructed to be the guy closest to Pascal so that he can come get the ball and make the next right decision while the Raptors have a numerical advantage. I did think that, I guess the other part of it is that the Heat were playing 4 guards. That just kind of happens. So I don't hate running the offense through him, but it's like, yeah, just something's up. I wish he could shoot better. I wish all of this bench situation is really screwed up. I did want to bring up, we did go away from Pascal in the fourth, and Chris, if you could bring up the usage stuff, we did go away from Pascal in the fourth. I think a lot of that was the trapping. I think a part of it was that they kind of don't ride the hot hand, and Aiden I think is the biggest proponent of not the one who's most frustrated by this. But I didn't feel like Pascal late was getting the touches he deserved. I don't know. How did you feel?
Yeah, it's so tough because I've always said this, that Miami just has the perfect guys to kind of throw on Pascal. I don't think anybody on the Miami Heat currently, maybe save for Bam Adebayo, can really hold Pascal one-on-one, but I don't think it's as easy for Chris Quinn, who was the standing head coach for the Miami Heat. Eric Spoelstra wasn't there. I don't think it's as easy as saying, let's just plug Bam Adebayo there on Pascal the entire game, and you just don't have to worry about him. That's not how Pascal is. He'll get other guys involved. I mean, it is what it is. And you see, I believe, Chris, this is a usage chart. So Pascal in the beginning of the game, 21.7%. Middle, you see Scotty Barnes took a large part of that usage at the end of the second and the closer to the third quarter.
Or during the second quarter, with a 0. Yeah, I don't think you guys appreciate how hard it is to get a 0. Usage isn't just like shots. It's like how involved you are in the offense, meaning like, are you involved in that team possession, right? In that team possession in any way. A 0 is
that's difficult.
Crazy. Yeah, that is tough. And this isn't going to be, if you can move the mouse off Pascal, that number is not going to be right just the way we have it set up, because really the first part of the quarter, I would assume he was close to 50%. He was taking almost every shot. And then the last part of the quarter, he was basically not involved at all. So that sort of big block isn't indicative of his fourth quarter usage. So we're going to get our team on that, and we'll fix that up eventually. But that's in the works.
I know people are saying he went away from Pascal in the fourth, but do you think part of the reason why the Raptors kind of stagnated offensively was because of, I guess, the contrast and aggressiveness that we saw from Fred VanVleet in the first half compared to the second half? Do you think that had something to do with it? I mean, 11 free throws attempted. It felt like it was at that moment from, I believe, the third quarter, and it just didn't change for Fred. That's difficult, by the way, for a guy like his with his size. Fred's not a big guy, miniature sized guy. 11 free throws attempted is crazy, and he hit all 11. The aggressiveness wasn't there for me, and then obviously he was missing some shots. He went from being super hot to ending off the game 7 for 17 and only 4 for 11 from 3. And he was a -10. Wow, I did not expect that from Fred.
Shocking.
Yeah. I'm a little shocked at that. Wow. I'm really shocked at that.
With Fred, it's like sometimes you get frustrated. Like if Siakam gets too in love with taking jumpers, I get legitimately mad sitting at home. Like, come on, like you need to get to the rim. You're such a good finisher around the rim. You have all this this whole package of moves in that sort of middle part of the floor that you can get to the rim with. But with Fred, it's like I don't think he's falling in love with his jumper. I think that's kind of all he has. It's really hard for him to finish over other guys because he's tiny. He's really, really small. So maybe that's an argument for him not getting possessions late in games where they need to get to the rim or at least bring rim pressure. Maybe that's I don't really know what it is, but you're right. He barely brought any rim pressure in the fourth quarter when they really needed something to break down the Heat and get them in scramble mode. They just kind of couldn't.
Yeah, and I think one of the most telling stats in this one between the Raptors and the Heat was the fact that, early on, first half, the Raptors led, and a lot of that had to do with their ability to generate points off of turnovers. And I think you look at the end of the game there, I mean, the gap was huge. I don't remember exactly what the number was, but the Raptors were leading that margin by quite a bit. And then the end of the game, you look, and both teams are obviously tied in turnovers, but the Miami have 23 points off turnovers, and the Raptors had 20. And a lot of times, the Raptors were sloppy in the second half. The ball was loose. It felt like it was getting pinged around the court at some points. Miami took advantage. One play that comes to mind, I don't know, Chris, if we have it, is the Fred VanVleet turnover, where he kind of he's almost in the midst of starting an offensive set. He's trying to initiate a set, and he kind of walks to the sidelines, and he gets double teamed. He gets trapped. It was one of the quicker traps because Miami does that so well, where they get that second guy there before Fred could even realize. They trapped him against the sideline. Fred had no choice. He couldn't get Gary in the corner. He had no choice. I believe it was either Pascal, Scotty. It was one of the bigs at the top of the key, closer to the logo. Kyle just comes out of nowhere, picks it off, and finishes at the rim. So that was when you can generate those type of plays, Kyle. Those are real momentum boosters for a team. I know a lot of people in the comments are mentioning how, I was literally just about to say that Litmus says it right here. The game was very winnable, and it ended in a way where people weren't really fond of it. I mean, for me, Kyle, one of the biggest things was Gary Trent Jr. and the fact that he was open on a lot of possessions and he just wasn't getting the extra pass. He looked frustrated. There was a play where it was actually, I think, a couple plays before the and one, or what Gary thought should have been the and one three. It was a couple possessions before that, and he was wide open in the corner, just like this, just waiting, and he didn't get the ball. And then a timeout was called, and he's like, "What's going on?" He sat down. He's like, "Guys, I need the ball. Like, you guys can't get nothing going. It's just Pascal. Fred's gone cold." I'm sure he didn't say all that, but this is probably what was going through his mind. And I need the ball. I need to get, some shots up. And I feel bad for Gary because he's the type of guy, Kyle, that when he doesn't get shots up for quite a long time, he'll just go cold. Gary's the type of guy you got to constantly feed him. Did you see those type of possessions where he just wasn't getting the ball at all? And do you think he could have made a little bit more of an impact offensively?
Yeah, it's tough because sometimes when he's not necessarily involved with the offense, he still kind of eats off of those wide open corner threes or wing threes and, basically swing open threes. But they were barely, credit to Miami, they're a great defensive team. They barely broke down the defense. They were containing all the dribble penetration. There wasn't really a swing to be had. There was no open threes for Gary to get. So yeah, he couldn't get himself into rhythm and kind of never got started. I actually think he had an all right game, all things considered. To me, my biggest issue tonight offensively was Scotty, despite I know he got a lot of shots up, felt like he spent a lot of time in the corner. And there was this comment from earlier, allergic to taking guys in the post again. I mean, they're not designing post touches for Scotty. I mean, he took a lot of corner threes, and it's you gotta make this guy a focal point of your offense when he's covered by Max Strus. I get that Max Strus is a little bit, he's got a little bit more weight on him than whatever Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson type thing. He's not he's not super skinny, but Scotty Barnes is probably 4 inches taller than Max Strus and has a whole bunch of
let me ask you a question, Kyle,
etc.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Who is this really a matchup nightmare for Miami? Because I saw this a lot, what they were doing with Scotty, especially at the high post. They were throwing Kyle Lowry on him. And Kyle Lowry, we all know, is a guy that just loves guarding guys that are 6'10", 6'9" in the post. He takes advantage. He's a strong guy, has one of the strongest cores, I think, in the league, pound for pound.
And a low center of gravity. Super low.
Very low center of gravity. Exactly. And here you see it right here. And this is, he scores here, but that's a difficult shot. Kyle made that difficult, and that shouldn't be difficult for a guy that's 6 feet compared to Scotty Barnes, who's 6'9", right?
Yeah, whatever. I never believe any of that. And he measured. He measured 6'7" at his pro day. He grew 2 inches. Unless he grew 2 inches, I'm calling him 6'7".
Okay,
whatever.
Fair.
It's all agent PR. Whatever. He's 6'9", and it's I probably make him an extra $500K over the course of his career or something over being 6'7". At the end of the day, it's not going to matter. But At his pro day, he was 6'7". Either way, Kyle Lowry is 6 foot. Especially if we're adjusting for like the agent boost,
It's 7 inches at the minimum.
Yeah, it's at least 7 inches. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows? And he should be able to shoot over Kyle. And I think even in that clip we saw, he backed him down a little bit. To me, Scotty needs post touches, especially when he's shooting. I think Samson mentioned this on his podcast with Kevin O'Connor, which is a big get for us here at Raptors Republic. This is one of the bigger shoutouts we've ever gotten. But he mentioned like Scotty is like an elite like post hook player, like is one of like the nicest or highest percentage post hooks like in the entire league.
He has incredible touch. Yeah,
he's got great touch around the rim. I mean, he can shoot over guys. I mean, he needs post touches.
I think especially if Miami's going to go with guard heavy lineups, right? Like when they put 4 guards and Bam, when you put four guards and Bam on the court, you have to just feed Scotty nonstop. He might miss one. He's going to hit most of them. So I don't know, though, if the Raptors as a team are at that point where, with Pascal, you can give it to him 3, 4, 5 straight possessions and hope that he creates something. But Scotty might get it one possession, maybe the second possession. And I don't know if he's kind of gathered that type of respect from the Raptors just yet. He is averaging, like, I'm not trying to say Scotty doesn't get the ball. He is averaging 15.4 points per game for a reason. He scores at a pretty good clip in terms of the possessions that he uses, but I think you have to take advantage of a smaller Miami Heat team, especially when Jimmy Butler's not there, because you throw Jimmy in that game, and it's a whole nother thing to worry about. So looking forward, I guess Kyle, hypothetically, obviously the Miami Heat are a potential option for the Raptors. Let's say, Miami drops off a little in the standings, or even the Raptors get Miami in the second round. You look at the hypothetical scenario between the Raptors and Miami Heat. What do you want to see Toronto do better the next time around? Because remember, it's going to look a lot different with Jimmy Butler there. Fred may not look the same. We may not have OG there again. You don't know, right? So you would assume Jimmy Butler is going to be there for that playoff series, hypothetical scenario, again, for people who aren't listening. What do you want to see? Is it just as simple as, can we get more from the bench? Is it, go to Pascal when you need to, get Gary more involved?
More simple than, can we get more for the bench? Like, just shoot the ball better. I mean,
okay,
nice. At the end of the day, the Heat shot 47% from 3 and the Raptors shot rounding up 31%. And this was a 5-point game. I think if those two get a little bit closer to one another, the Raptors shoot closer to their average, the Heat shoot closer to their average, then it's a more tight game, even with Jimmy in the lineup. And these are 2 really close teams, and these are 2 really good teams. The Raptors need to do a better job of breaking the Heat down off the dribble to kind of get them in scramble mode, get some wide open shots, bring some rim pressure, force some help. And they probably need to do a better job of containing the Heat off the dribble so that they don't have to have help so aggressively off of the corners and be late rotating onto guys. I saw earlier, Phoenix mentioned, it's not about it's the effort contesting some of these looks. It's not an effort thing. These guys are flying around. It's that they're always one step late because that they're chasing in rotation.
Can I cut you off really quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think OG would make a difference with that in terms of the coverage of the court? Yeah,
absolutely. He's one of the best at containing dribble penetration. He's also one of the best at helping and knowing how to help and knowing his rotations. It's just partly chemistry with guys. It's easier to rotate, it's easier to switch, etc. when you know who you're playing with. The other thing is that OG's long and he's quick, and they need him desperately. If down the stretch, if those Thad Young minutes were OG minutes, this game looks very, very different. So. That would be.
I was gonna say the scheme I think worked that Nick Nurse wanted to accomplish in the game. It's just sometimes guys just get very hot. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. The Raptors scheme where it just seems like it's such a chaotic, ultra switching, system where a lot of times the corners are open and a lot of times the Raptors do get there. I know it seemed like Pascal and Chris and Precious were flying by defenders with the pump fakes and all that, but I think a lot of times this does work, and I think it's difficult when any player like Strus, it wasn't all open shots for Strus. I mean, some of them were. Granted, you got to give him some respect and you got to give him his due, but I mean, I think the scheme kind of accomplished its intended process. It's what can you do when Oladipo and Strus want to shoot 72% from downtown? I wouldn't expect that. I wouldn't even expect that from Strus himself. I know I've watched Miami enough to realize that Strus is a very good 3-point shooter. I believe he's hovering around 40%, if not higher this season. But Oladipo's a guy where it's like, okay, he hit one. Okay, he hit another. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then Strus the other way around. It's like 7 for 9 for him as well. So I don't want to give, or criticize, I'd like to say, Nick Nurse too much, because I do think his scheme did accomplish what he wanted to do. I just think guys got super hot. It is what it is. We have a tweet here from Oren Weisfeld, our friend, of course, of Wrap Up Live. He says, Fred says the defense was as bad as they've played in the second half in a little while. And that's what I meant, Kyle, when I said it felt like we were watching two different games with the first half compared to the second half, right?
Yeah, but the Raptors, I mean, the third quarter is particularly bad, but I thought in the fourth they weren't actually terrible. There's just open shots were being made. I'm with you in that. Like, I think the scheme looked good. Yeah, the execution could have been better, but it wasn't terrible. It was not. Look, if that's as bad as they've played, they lost by 5 points. Like, trust me, I saw that Pistons game. I saw that Magic game that they lost back to back. That's worse. That is way worse. Yeah. So,
Yeah. One thing I'm surprised we didn't mention just yet. Well, you can tell by the title, it was a historic night, not just because Kyle Lowry was in the building, but also because Fred did something that no other Raptor has done. And that is breaking the single season record for 3-pointers. And it's great. I mean, the coincidence is great that he does it in front of Kyle, his long-term mentor, one of his great friends in the NBA. Fred did that. And there's I believe, how many more games, Kyle, are there left in the season? I mean, Chris would probably know
4.
Better than me. I believe, yeah. I was going to say there's 5, but I'm not 100% sure. So, yeah, it was great. It was great to see Fred do that. Most of the highlights, obviously, you guys will see will be in the first half from Fred. But, I mean, it is what it is. He was hot. He had 21 points in the first half, only 8 in the second half, and he did break the record. And that record does not look like it's going to be broken anytime soon. From any Raptors. So that's huge, I think, for Fred. And another torch passing moment, I think, which was cool to watch from Kyle to Fred. Did you like the little thing they had going on during the game where they were laughing at each other and all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was awesome. I think I loved when Fred kind of blew by Lowry and like bumped him on the way to the rim, like put a layup up, and Scotty like flexed in Lowry's face, and they had a nice little moment where like Fred was laughing on behalf of Scotty. I love Kyle. I think Kyle Lowry is, part of the reason is that he shares my name, but I think Kyle Lowry is like one of my favorite, if not my favorite basketball player ever. He's super intelligent guy, really funny, charismatic, like a team player, very little ego. So it's awesome to see him back in Toronto. And it's awesome to see, I think that was like kind of like a big brother, little brother moment. I think he really him and Fred have a relationship, and you could tell at certain points, these guys love each other and they're close, whatever. But I'm sure those guys have gotten each other at practice and like yelled and screamed
100%.
And like threw punches, kind of thing. Like those are the type of guys they both are. So it's interesting to see that play out.
Yeah, before we get into Taxman, I'm going to read out this tweet from Oren Weisfeld. He says, Siakam says the biggest thing he took away from Lowry is the leadership factor and is trying to do some of those things that Kyle did on and off the court, including organizing events outside of ball and being a professional and setting that hardworking tone. That's amazing to hear. We've talked about Kyle, we've talked about Fred, we talked about some of the guys in this game. Are we going to do an honorary, maybe the first ever honorary Taxman tonight to Kyle Lowry? Is that what we're doing tonight?
Or are we giving it many times? I think he deserves it though. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll do that. I guess I don't think anyone's gonna have a problem with it in the comment section. Kyle has returned to Toronto, so he is our honorary Taxman of the night. He had a great game. I have to appreciate what I saw from Kyle Lowry tonight. 16 points. 10 assists, 6 rebounds for the former Raptor, the man who delivered the NBA championship to Toronto, the great city of Toronto, in 2019. The all-time best, the GROAT, not the GOAT, the GROAT, the greatest Raptor of all time, Kyle Lowry. You guys see at the top of the screen, you can call VJ Verma at 416-243-2912, or visit canamtax.ca. Canamtax, I was going to say .ca.com. Almost got that wrong. Visit canamtax.com. There's two ways you can contact VJ Verma, either through the website or by phone. Guys, Can-Am Tax. Look, I told you guys this before. I have some accountant friends. They're super busy. They do not want to talk to me anymore. I send them texts. They do not respond on time. I send them Twitter DMs. They do not respond on time. Accountants are busy, and that is because it is tax season. So visit Can-Am Tax for all your questions. Even if you just have questions, send them your questions. Call in, ask them your questions, leave a voicemail, do whatever. Say Wrap Up sent you. Don't forget that, guys. We never tell you that, but tell them that Wrap Up Live from Raptors Republic sent you. I know a lot of you guys are watching, and you're not going to tell, maybe your partner, maybe your parents, maybe your siblings that you haven't filed your taxes yet. Just get it done, man. Get it done. The phone number's at the top. You can visit canamtax.com. And yeah, tell them we sent you. This was a great game. This was a great game, Kyle. I know the Raptors did not come out with the win, but seeing these type of quotes from Kyle Lowry, where Eric Kareen tweeted, Lowry said, "It meant the world to me. The first time is always special. You do not forget that." Yeah, this was Kyle Lowry Day. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh, quite literally, it was Kyle Lowry Day. I think John Tory, the mayor of Toronto, named it Kyle Lowry Day. So in Toronto. So, I mean, that was cool. There's so many days for everything now, but I think Kyle Lowry is one of those guys where he deserves his own day. Yeah, this was fun. Kyle, do you want to go through some questions maybe before we end it off?
Yeah, I do. I would love to go through some questions. We'll start with Phoenix. Phoenix is writing like paragraphs here.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Boom. It's taking up the whole bottom of the screen. Thank God.
All right, everybody put your reading glasses on. Here we go.
No, in general, it's like, are we worried about Scotty being abused in the pick and roll because he's slow laterally? I don't think he's slow laterally. I think that Scotty is has a tendency to overplay guys to their weak hand and then gets blown by. I think that he trusts a lot. I think he's willing to get blown by a lot because he can recover with his length and his quick, he's quick off the floor, so he can block shots easily. So I don't think that he's you're never going to be able to abuse this person in pick and roll, foot speed wise. Is he their best on ball defender? No, but there's if he was an abusable defender, I don't think Nick Nurse would ever have him be the matchup on a primary ball handler, which he does all the time. And Nick Nurse is a better evaluator of defense than anyone on this podcast is, anyone in the comments, unless we have Greg Popovich in the comments or something.
Right? Yeah, I was going to say.
So I think
Coach K,
to me, it's this is not the type of guy that you can abuse. He's a terrific defender. I just think he's young, and it looks like
he's learning.
Sometimes he gets abused. Yeah, he's learning. Was the statue real? No. Sahal got fooled again.
Yeah, here we go. At this point, I believe by this time next year, we're probably going to have a compilation of me being fooled live on Wrap Up Live. So I mean,
you had hours to do your research on that.
I know. No, I saw it. I got super excited. I literally wrote in my game notes. I was like, Kyle Lowry statue with 4 question marks. But I was happy. I mean, it is what it is. Kyle Lowry, give him the statue. It is what it is. Get him that as soon as possible. Let's see any more questions that we got. Chris, I know Chris, our producer, is scanning through these really, really quick. I'm looking as well. What do we got? Mike Kamina, he says, do you guys think we can use Chris Boucher as a help defender a la Robert Williams? Switch to keep him under the rim to protect the rim from the weak side. I think, believe it or not, that's what the Raptors actually do quite a bit.
I think they do it already a ton.
Yeah, I think they do it quite a bit. I just think with Chris, it's so difficult with the Raptors to keep a defender in a stationary position because they're constantly switching and they're constantly moving around. They're constantly covering so much of the court. You guys saw it. Chris Boucher was switching from man to man to man and then had to close out in the corner and jumps. And Chris Boucher, he loves to jump. And sometimes he gets those blocks. Sometimes it makes Scotiabank Arena go crazy. And sometimes he misses. But a lot of times, more often than not, I think he affects the shot, which is great. So I think to answer your question, Mike, that is a thing that I think Nick Nurse does already. It's so difficult for the Raptors to be okay, you're going to be the help defender in a very stationary sense, like Robert Williams does for the Celtics. Because remember, Robert Williams is thrown against some of the bigger guys in the league. He's not massive himself, but Chris Boucher sometimes is thrown on these 6'7" wings and these 6'8" wings and on the perimeter. So their roles I think are a little bit different. But when Chris Boucher is protecting the rim from the weak side, it is a good thing for the Raptors.
Phoenix, we try and it gets blown up every time. We run a lot early stages, I guess what you would call, like, I think the Spurs would call it AI hammer. It's basically an Iverson cut into a hammer play. But that was like Nurse's go-to for the longest time, and it just gets blown up every time. I think it's got blown up to the point where like they don't even bother running it anymore because people are all over that. It's actually a league-wide thing. Even the Warriors were like the biggest hammer team in like the NBA. Even the Warriors don't run as much.
They used to abuse it.
Yeah, so it's just kind of gone. Like I wouldn't say gone. That's too far. But they, people are really on top of the hammer stuff now. So we don't run it because it's hard to run.
It is. It's very hard to run. We had a comment
Drake was at the Women's NCAA Championship, which is on right now.
Look at that. Drake missed out on Lowry Day to visit the Women's NCAA Championship. That's a huge game too.
It's Page Day.
It is. Please. You're right. 100%. And one thing about Drake is that he's been a proponent of women's basketball for quite a while. Like he uses his platform quite a bit to kind of uplift women's basketball, which is so cool to see from the Raptors. What is his title? Global Ambassador? Is that still his title?
I think they had to give it up for whatever reason, because I think he can't tamper if he's officially with the organization. So I think they gave it up so he can legally tamper. He still has a season ticket, so whatever. He's the season ticket holder in the best seat in the house. Congratulations,
by the way, to South Carolina. They are the champions, according to our producer Chris Howson-Jan. I don't have the time to look. I mean, maybe I can Google NCAA women's champ.
If he got you, I don't even know why he would do that. I would assume that Chris is correct, but maybe he's just testing.
No, they won.
Okay,
they won 64-49. They beat the UConn Huskies. And by the way, UConn, if you guys do not follow women's basketball, they're the Goliath of women's basketball. South Carolina is very good as well. They were the 1 seed. UConn was the 2 seed. They won 64-49. Big win. They got off to a good start. Led the first half. 35-27. So they got off to a good start. Shout out to South Carolina and shout out to Drake for kind of missing Lowry Day, but also being there for women's basketball. Nice.
Let's look at the schedule and then get out of here. Not the schedule, the standings, I should say, because as I think must have been Phoenix that pointed out, the Raptors are currently in a 3-6 matchup with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Oh,
I think
goodness.
This is the team that both of us said that we wanted to face the least. I stand by that. Yep. I think Giannis is already a top 20 player in the history of the NBA. I think he'll finish his career as like a top 10, maybe top 5. I think he's
incredible. Top 5. I'm a big Giannis guy, but top 5's that's bold. But I like it. He's got
a lot under his belt, and we'll see. Maybe
I think it's just a longevity thing with him.
Exactly.
That's I think what it comes down to.
He's been relatively healthy for the longest time, and he should be. The first. However many, think about how successful he is as a player, all his accolades, etc., that he has all to this point. In the first 3 years of his career are basically him being either a complete development project, not playing, or like a fun, frisky, like Chris Boucher type player. And then third year being an exciting young star, a la Scotty. But even then, wasn't the focal point of a team. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got all this, and it's only really in the past however long. Anyway.
Look at Brooklyn, Kyle. Wow.
Yeah, I know. That is ugly. KD had 55 the other night. They lost. He didn't take I don't think he shot. I think he had fewer shots than other people on his team after scoring 55, which is just ridiculous. I don't understand. Goran Dragic left the Raptors, and they might not make the to be with the contender, and they might not make the play-in. They might be eliminated.
Yeah, we'll see. I did not expect Brooklyn to fall all the way to 10. The good thing is they are guaranteed a play-in matchup because the New York Knicks suck. And currently the Brooklyn Nets run New York. New York Knicks kind of just fell off into a pit of darkness after a very good season last year. Julius Randle's been injured. He hasn't had a great year relative to what he was doing last season. But yeah, it looks like the 4 teams are pretty likely. It's pretty likely going to be Cleveland, Atlanta, Charlotte, and Brooklyn in whatever order for the play-in. And then you kind of move from there. You look above that. You have the Raptors, the Bulls, and like Kyle said, Milwaukee staring us right in the eye as we speak. But things can change. We're tied with Chicago, 5.5 games behind Miami. Philadelphia is just 3 games above. My hope, and I said it before, Kyle, it was actually on the last live show, was that Philadelphia would continue losing and the Raptors would continue winning and the Raptors would take the 4 seed. And my dream matchup was Raptors at 4 seed, Philadelphia at the 5 seed. But I mean, and then facing the winner of Miami versus whatever team, right? So that was my hope, but that does not look like it may happen, unfortunately. You can see the remaining schedules. Josh Lewenberg from TSN posted Bulls are playing Milwaukee, Boston, Charlotte, and Minnesota. That's pretty tough. The Raptors got Atlanta, Philadelphia, Houston, 3 games at home, and then you're at the New York Knicks, I believe that is, in Madison Square Garden. Yes, it is. And then the Cavs
that's
have
2-2 to me. I think the Raptors probably lose to the Hawks again because they're just going to get pick and roll to death, like they did last time they played the Hawks. I mean, that Trae Young, Clint Capella pick and roll is ridiculous.
Yeah, Hawks have been hot too. There's a reason why they're the 8th seed. They have been super hot. They blew out the Cavs recently, and the Knicks for that matter. Philadelphia, it's going to be tough beating them again, but it seems like the Raptors have the solution for the Philadelphia 76ers. Houston, I mean, we can never say what's a gimme anymore, Kyle, because, months ago we used to say the Pistons were a gimme game or the Orlando Magic were a gimme game, and they are not. And then lastly, the Cavs have Orlando, Brooklyn, and then they finish off with Milwaukee. We'll see. We'll see how the games end for all of these Eastern Conference teams. It is a rat race right now.
So the Raptors are currently 2.5 games up on the Cavs, and the Cavs have 1 less game to make that make that gap smaller. So I think the Raptors are, barring a huge run from Atlanta, if they just sort of take care of business, I think the Raptors are locked in out of the play-in, which is, I think, after that back-to-back losses, Orlando, Detroit, and they were solidly in the play, and the Raptors were, and I was really down on them. This is a huge turnaround. If you told me this time last year the Raptors will be a 6 seed next year, I would have taken it in a heartbeat. Easily taken it in a heartbeat. So this is 100%. Nick Nurse is going to get to, let's say, I don't know, they're at 45 wins right now. Nick Nurse is going to get to 48 wins, 47 wins, nearly 50 wins with this team, with the total lack of bench, crazy injuries, everywhere, to major players, to starters. This is arguably a better year than he had in 2019, just in terms of he's done more with less.
Yeah, this is a coach of the year consideration type thing, but I don't think he's going to get it, but it is what it is.
You got to start those campaigns so early
exactly. And then the momentum kind of has to roll with it, right? So I just find it funny that it's Lowry Day, and if I move my head, you could see my huge head, not as big as William Lou, but a big head. When I move it, you could see the Kyle Lowry jersey there. I was too lazy, guys, to take it down and then kind of wear it, because you guys would probably only see like the Raptors part. But I mean, you guys can see it there. Lowry, the best Raptor of all time. This was Lowry Day. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, you see the Tottenham jersey as well, 5-1 versus Newcastle, but we're not going to talk about that. I think we'll end it there. I think we'll end it there. This was Lowry Day. This was one of the, I think, most anticipated nights of the Raptors season. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Kyle, did you want to end off with anything?
No. Follow us both on Twitter. Like the video. It's completely free. They don't charge you anything. I know there's a big misconception clearly with a lot of you, because we get like hundreds every night and there's fewer likes than there are viewers, but it's actually free to like the video. I think you should consider
totally
it.
Free. Yeah.
Completely free. And that's pretty much it. I think this is the most fun I've had in a Raptors loss in a very long time.
Exactly. I'm usually kind of dejected. I'm not. This was a big night, I think, for Kyle Lowry and the Raptors history. Big night. Like Kyle said, though, you could follow us on Twitter. My @ is @Sahal Abdi. And then Kyle's is @Kyle Brickman _. You could follow him there. And also our producer, you could follow Chris Howson-Jan as well. Thank you to Chris, by the way, for all the background work. He has been great as always, as well as our other producer, Don Yang, who's not with us. But you could follow Chris Howson-Jan. There's the plug, Chris. You got to put it on screen. See Howson-Jan. There we go. Get the likes up, guys. We appreciate you guys all watching and enjoying the same Sunday night that we did. It is hashtag Lowry Day. We loved it. We had fun. Yes, the Raptors lost, but we enjoyed the presence of the greatest Raptor of all time.